Welcome to B2 Listening Practice. This podcast helps you improve your English naturally with everyday topics, real-life situations, and useful vocabulary at B2 level. I'm Vera. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about 5 principles that can help you improve your English. Many people think that you need to have a natural talent for languages or be immersed in a native-speaking environment from a very young age to be good at English. But that's not true. It really depends on your learning techniques. This video is structured based on the input hypothesis by Krashen. I hope I got that right. This is also the exact learning process you should follow. Input is the raw material, and output is the final product. To get good output, you must first have input. When learning English, input refers to reading and listening, while output is speaking and writing. To speak and write well, you must read and listen a lot. Reading and listening are easier skills that you should focus on first. Speaking and writing will come naturally later. The first principle I want to introduce that can help improve your English is the 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. What does this mean? It means that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. To explain further, 80% of your work output is created by just 20% of the time you spend. In the context of learning English, if you learn the 3,000 to 5,000 most commonly used English words, you'll be considered fluent. Those 3,000 words make up only about 0.7% of the 450,000 words in the English dictionary. Yet, over 95% of daily conversations use those 3,000 words. One common mistake I see is that learners often memorize the meanings of words but don't know how to use them correctly when speaking or writing. They can't recall the words because they're not used to using them. And when they do use them, it's often out of context. Even though the word may have a similar meaning in your language, it doesn't mean it can be used the same way in English. The contexts differ between languages, so focus on learning the most frequently used English words and, more importantly, how to use them correctly in context. At this point, you may wonder, how do I know which words are the most common? Don't worry, I've got you. I recommend learning the 3,000 to 5,000 most common vocabulary words based on the Oxford Dictionary list. The Oxford Dictionary is a trusted source in the English learning world. This vocabulary list is available for free on the Oxford Learners Dictionary's website. I'll leave the link in the description for you to study. To learn how to use those words correctly, look up example sentences after learning the meaning. You can just Google it, or even better, use a high-quality dictionary I'll recommend in the next section. The next method also builds on the input hypothesis and will solve this exact problem. It's an indirect method combining comprehensible input and compelling input. Comprehensible input means if your current knowledge is level N, then you consume input that helps you reach level N+1. Compelling input means you expose yourself to English media and entertainment that you actually enjoy. The first thing I want you to do is change the language settings on your phone, iPad, and laptop to English. That way, as you interact with your devices daily, you'll be learning English passively. For example, you'll know what settings means, what calculator means, and so on. That's how you go from N to N+1. Even passively, you'll be acquiring more knowledge. Instead of forcing yourself to memorize vocabulary, expose yourself to English media and content that you genuinely like. It'll stick more easily. Think about how quickly you memorize song lyrics. It's because you actually love that song and have listened to it over and over. When you build fun habits like that, learning won't feel forced anymore. In class, for example, your teacher might ask you to listen to BBC or CNN and write a report. For example, in class, your teacher might ask you to go home, listen to BBC or CNN, and write down what they say to hand in the next day. That feels like a task or obligation. But when you're watching YouTube or movies because you actually enjoy them, you'll naturally turn them on. They're entertaining, and the language will start to stick in your brain without you realizing it. I highly recommend watching as much YouTube and as many movies as you like. If you enjoy the news, go ahead and watch it. I personally don't enjoy news, but if you do, that's great. If you prefer TikTok, that's fine too. These days, everything comes with transcripts. Just remember to turn on subtitles. That way, you can associate the vocabulary you hear with its spelling and pronunciation. Often, you can guess the meaning of a word based on the context it's used in. With the same time, you'll also learn how to express emotions and tone in English, which is a little different from your language. For example, questions in English usually have a rising intonation at the end, while answers often go down in pitch or stay steady. So, yes, watching the media helps you learn how to speak more like a native speaker. Personally, I recommend watching YouTube over movies. Why? Because YouTube content is real people, real talk, like me right now. The way they speak is more natural. In movies, actors tend to perform with a bit of dramatization. Plus, depending on the film's setting, it may use older vocabulary that's no longer commonly used. For example, in period films, they often use very formal or archaic English. If you're watching a movie or YouTube video and come across a word you want to remember and study later, now that we've covered indirect learning, let's move on to active learning. I know active learning can sound intimidating, but it's actually not scary at all. You won't be cramming. You'll learn how to get the most knowledge in the least amount of time with minimal effort. This method is also backed by science. It's called spaced repetition and the golden time. Spaced repetition means you review what you've learned at specific time intervals, instead of trying to memorize everything all at once. This method helps you remember things more effectively and for a longer time. With the right routine, you can learn up to 1,000 English words in a month. Here's a simple example. Day 1, learn 4 new words. Day 2, learn 4 more and review the 4 from yesterday, day 3. Add 4 more and review the words you still don't remember well. This pattern is called a spaced review schedule, and it helps your brain store information more deeply. Scientists call this the spacing effect. Your brain remembers better when you review information just before you're about to forget it. That's the golden time to review. Many smart learning tools today use technology and simple AI to track your learning progress. They remind you exactly when to review each word. You might even see a small countdown timer that shows when your next review is due. Words are often divided into 5 levels, from not remembered to strongly remembered. Words you already know well will appear less often. Words you forget or struggle with will show up more regularly. That way, your review sessions stay short and focused. Often just 10 to 15 minutes a day is enough. Some word learning tools also offer a large database of common English words grouped by topics like travel, business, daily life, etc. Flashcards with pictures, audio, definitions, phonetics, and example sentences to help you understand and use the words naturally. A personal dictionary where you can save new words you find while watching videos or reading online. This helps you study anytime, anywhere, even while lying in bed or scrolling on your phone. Some platforms even allow you to look up a word instantly and save it to your word list for later review with spaced repetition. To stay motivated, many learners also join online communities where they can share tips and encourage each other. Some platforms organize challenges, events, or fun activities to help you build strong study habits. Next method, imitation and practice. This is a fantastic way to improve your speaking skills. Imitation, also known as shadowing, means mimicking the way native speakers pronounce, stress, and intonate their sentences. For example, if you watch a video and your speaking skills aren't great yet, just imitate how the speaker talks. Make sure the person is a native English speaker. Do this consistently over time, and your pronunciation, stress, and rhythm will naturally improve. If you don't have native speakers to practice with, try speaking in English with your friends. Correct each other when you make mistakes. If you don't have friends to practice with, like I didn't in the past, you can talk to yourself. Pretend you're vlogging for YouTube. For instance, when I'm alone in my room or riding my motorbike home from school, I'll narrate my day in English. Today at school, this happened. I talked to this person. We did this project together. Try to describe everything in detail. The more you describe, the more words you'll use. Let's say you want to say, I bought a skirt. Instead of just that, you can say, today I went to this local clothing store downtown and bought a beautiful red maxi skirt. I'm absolutely in love with it. Add some flair. The more vocabulary you include, the more you reinforce those words through the usage. That's spaced repetition and practice. This next part is optional, but worth considering. English has many dialects: British English, American English, Australian English, etc. Choose one and stick with it. For example, I had a friend who used to speak only American English. Then she studied in the UK and started mixing British and American pronunciation and vocabulary, which sounded a bit odd, and there are also vocabulary differences. And final method, journaling research shows that writing something down, especially on paper, helps your brain remember it more easily and for longer. I recommend journaling in English. This isn't just about listing your daily activities. It's about writing down your feelings, thoughts, and life lessons. Journaling also supports your mental health. It's healing, as many people say. Let's say you're talking with someone or thinking in English and you forget a word. You only remember it in your language. Go home, look it up, and write it down. If you can, write it in your journal. You can also create a word list, traditionally in a notebook, which helps reinforce learning by writing it manually. Or create a Google Doc and combine it with Mochi Dictionary. Add the meaning, an example sentence, and use it for review. Just remember to review regularly. Pro tip: try to study English in the morning. That's when your brain is fresh. The later it gets, the more tired your brain becomes, and the easier it is to lose focus. So do your heavy studying early and save fun stuff like watching YouTube or movies for later in the day. At the end of the day, write a short journal entry in English to close out your learning. I'll be releasing lots of English-speaking vlogs soon, so stay tuned. That's all for today's episode. I hope you found these tips helpful. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.